I'm up panicking about pie plates. It's 8:30 in the morning on the Monday of Thanksgiving week, and I had a realization that I do not have the proper pie plate to make the pie that I am planning on making for Thanksgiving, and I've sort of gone down a rabbit hole. Let me back up a little bit. So I was scrolling on Instagram a few weeks back, and Sister Pie came up on my feed, as they usually do, and the photo that I saw was a slice of their cranberry crumble pie. And I thought, I want to make that. First of all, I like Sister Pie. I used to work with them at Milk Bar. Lisa and Sarah both worked at Milk Bar at the same time. I regret not visiting their store when I was in Ann Arbor, but my flight got canceled. Never book a Spirit flight. They canceled my flight and I had to leave earlier. Couldn't go to the bakery. Their bakery is located in Detroit, by the way, Sister Pie. They have a great cookbook. They do, you might have heard of their salted maple pie. I feel like that's one of their signature flavors that they're known for. Anyway, I decided I wanted to make this cranberry pie because I mean, it looked beautiful. I love a crumble. I love any excuse to make and eat a crumble topping. And I like making a cranberry dessert because it's nostalgic for me. I've actually been thinking a lot about the drive that I used to do growing up multiple times a year, especially in the winter for Thanksgiving and Christmas, from the house that we grew up in Connecticut to Plymouth, Massachusetts. And, you know, it was a lot of highway, but we would cross through a lot of cranberry bogs. And you really don't see that down in North Carolina. So I do like to make a cranberry dessert. I made a cranberry tart last year, the year before, and brought it over to my in-laws' house. And it was... I mean, it was great, but everybody called it a raspberry pie. I think it was confusing for folks. But cranberry tart from New York Times. I think it was a naturally gluten-free recipe. It had an almond crust and a cranberry curd filling that was neon electric color. It was beautiful. I didn't really care for the crust. You know, it just happened to be gluten-free, but I think if I made it again, I would just make a regular, or I would choose a different type of tart crust. It was just bland and and a little dry, I think. Okay, back to this cranberry crumble pie. Let me take a sip of my coffee. So there's the pie recipe itself, and then there's a separate pie crust recipe, as they usually do. They trick you. And I decided to prep some of the ingredients over the weekend. You can make some of the pie components ahead of time per the recipe, which I did. So I pre-made the crumble, which is like an oat and cinnamon crumble. I pre-made the compote, which is cranberries and orange, and a little bit of brown sugar. And I bought a Cara orange and a Valencia orange just to see what would taste better. I let Brian taste both, and he said that they both tasted like soccer oranges, which I think is a fair assessment. I don't know. I think we might be a little bit early on the citrus season. I don't know if these are like old or not peak of season citrus, but they kind of sucked. So it doesn't even matter what kind of orange I used. I used a little bit of both, but I wish you could just use a lemon, but then it would probably be too tart. But I think lemon would just be a better flavor overall than orange. I understand why you use the orange because it's sweeter to balance out the cranberry, but I don't know. It's just like lemons aren't hit or miss like an orange is. You can get a bad orange like over 50% of the time. You're not going to get a bad lemon, or if you do, it's not really apparent because it's just sour. thing that makes the orange bad is that it just tastes like water and it's not sweet. But that's not the case with lemon. Well, I'm getting off track. Okay, so I made those two components. I made the compote and the crumble. The compote is part of the filling, which is also cranberry and pear and more spices and sugar. And then there's the all butter crust, which you're supposed to use European butter for it, but I didn't. I used American butter. It's a really simple recipe. I only did half because it does make two crusts. So it's 150 grams of flour per crust, half a teaspoon of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, and then a stick of butter, and then some ice cold water that has a little bit of apple cider vinegar in it. So super easy. They didn't call for lamination in their pie crust, but I did cut and stack my pie crust 4 or 5 times, hoping to get some layers out of it once it bakes. So I read the recipe through, and it says for the blind baking process, you need to blind bake the crust first. And it calls for a disposable aluminum pie pan, which at first I was dismissive of because I thought, well, this is a recipe from a bakery. Of course, that's what they use. They use a disposable aluminum pie pan because they're selling these pies. It makes sense. I'll just use my glass pie dish because I live in a house and I'm not a bakery. And I was rereading the recipe again last night, and the recipe asks you to freeze the crust for at a minimum of 15 minutes up to 8 hours before blind baking it in a 450 degree oven. So that set off some alarm bells in my head before drifting off to sleep. And I thought, okay, that's not good. I only have glass pie dishes and they will shatter. So I sort of was like, I'll figure it out, and panicked, woke up this morning and overnight ordered a metal pie pan. I thought, well, I could go to the grocery store and just pick up an aluminum pie pan, but I would rather just spend $5 more and get a pan that I can use year after year. Also, glass pie pans are not good in general. I should just get rid of them and either get a ceramic pie pan, which has better heat conductivity than a glass pie pan, or I should just have a metal on hand because it's safe, it's cheap, it's versatile. You know, I guess I would maybe worry also about a ceramic pie pan. Not really. I mean, if it's a good stoneware, like oven safe stoneware, I guess I wouldn't worry about it. But I do want to have the option of going from freezer to hot oven, and I think that metal is really the safest option. So I do want that metal option. So I went on a hunt to see what I could get. So Serious Eats recommended the Norpro stainless steel pie pan. I didn't end up getting that, but apparently it is a really good it imparts an evenness across the crust. To me, I don't know, thinking about making something in a stainless steel vessel is strange. I've never cooked anything in stainless steel. So I think the foreignness of that idea prevented me from doing that, especially like in like a make or break situation. Like I want to order a pie pan that I know is going to work, and I've cooked with aluminum ware before, and let's just go with that. Especially with the sticking situation. I don't know how non-stick a stainless steel pie pan is. So I went on Amazon, unfortunately, but I was stressed and ordered a Fat Daddy-O for a couple of reasons. I did really want to order this Nordic Ware aluminum 9-inch pie pan that I saw that was incredibly cheap, but it wouldn't have got to my house until December. So I ended up going with the Fat Daddy-O for a couple of reasons. I've used Fat Daddy-O products before. I own Fat Daddy-O products. I worked at a French bakery that only used Fat Daddy-O, like their quiche rings and other tins, and I really like them. they're reliable. And also it was good price and it was coming to my house by Wednesday. Let's hope that that happens. So crisis averted. I will be baking this pie on a 9-inch aluminum Fat Daddy-O pie pan. And the thing about those pie pans is they are hard to lift out of the oven because they don't really have a lip. So I will probably put the pie plate on a baking sheet, which is what we did in a commercial bakery anyway, in a commercial kitchen. Because then you can just load up a bunch of pie pans on a big full baking sheet and pull them out all at once. You don't have to burn yourself. So that is what is going on this morning. I did go down some Reddit and Garden Web forums and see what people were saying. So I found a Cook's Illustrated article, or like America's Test Kitchen article, that like actually studied this, and of course it's behind a paywall. But on Garden Web, which if you don't know what Garden Web is, how it was a garden forum, and then Houzz, Houzz, bought it, and it was called Houzz for a long time. But then they very recently reverted the name back to Garden Web. And it's actually the Rose Forum that I'm on, where I have a lot of rose friends and people send me rare rose cuttings. Houzz is weird, but the Garden Web is an incredible place to read about other people's experiences with certain plants based on their location and other things, I guess, pie plates. So this one person copied and pasted the text from that paywalled America's Test Kitchen article and shared it in this forum, which was really helpful. And basically what they said is, a lot of pie recipes tell you to put a frozen or chilled pie crust into a hot oven, which, you probably don't want to do. So America's Test Kitchen contacted Pyrex, and Pyrex suggested putting the cold pie plate on a metal baking sheet to distribute the heat more evenly, so it's not as much of a shock. I still think it's a risk. One person in the comments, someone from West Virginia, said what she does is she lines a glass pie dish with aluminum foil, shapes the pie crust into the aluminum foil, and freezes it. Then when she needs to use the pie crust, she takes it out, peels the aluminum foil off. She has a shaped pie crust. Then she puts that in her ceramic or glass pie pan that's at room temp, and then bakes that off. So you still get to bake your pie pan in, a nicer looking ceramic or glass vessel that you'd want to present it in, but none of the risk of that vessel being freezing cold, which I thought was a pretty good tip. I'm probably not going to do it now that I ordered a aluminum pie pan on the internet. So crisis averted. I am super excited about this pie. The filling, I bought a ton of, so let's see. The filling, hold on, my cat's about to break something. Okay, so one of my cats is fully addicted to the gravy that comes in the Friskies wet food. Just wants the gravy, leaves the actual meat behind, and if the gravy runs out, breaks things in the house until there's more gravy in the bowl. And I'm thinking about writing to Friskies and asking for some sort of product that I can just have in my fridge that is like a cube, like a giant cube of gravy that has a handle and like a pump, like a soap dispenser. So I could just pump gravy out into a bowl. Because I don't want to buy packets of gravy because it feels extremely wasteful. They sell all kinds of wet, sloppy products now called like Lil Soups or chowders. Weird names for cat food. And I just want a gravy dispenser. And it would make my life a lot better than throwing away cat meat every day. But what was I talking about? Not cat food. This pie. So I have most of it done. I just need to blind bake the crust and then assemble the pie and bake it off on Thanksgiving Day. So the filling itself is more cranberries. And then it recommends a Bosque or D'Anjou pear. I got a large variety of pears this weekend. No, I'm lying. I went on Thursday. Brian had the brilliant idea to do all of our Thanksgiving shopping on the Thursday before Thanksgiving so that we would beat the weekend crowd. We were going to go over the weekend. Brian said, let's just go on Thursday, which was smart, except now my fridge is packed to the gills with Thanksgiving ingredients that I can't use. So I can't cook anything else because it's just all Thanksgiving food and so every time I open my fridge, there's nothing to eat and there's nothing to cook. So that has been tough. So I got a bunch of pears. I got a bunch of Comtesse pears? They're beautiful. Like a little red blush on all of them. Beautiful shape, nice and stout. I got a couple d'Anjou and I got a few more. I don't know what I'm going to end up using. It calls for the pear to be grated, which is interesting. I don't know if I will do that. It also calls for tapioca starch, which I don't have, but I am going to use a cornstarch instead. It calls for 2 tablespoons of cream cheese at room temperature, which you spread over the blind baked pie crust. And I'm wondering if that is an insulation method so that the pie crust doesn't get soggy from all the juices of the fruit. Because if you think about it, like 2 tablespoons of cream cheese spread out over a 9-inch pie crust isn't that much of like a added flavor or, like a layer. It's not a layer. It feels like a sealant, if anything. And I did get a half gallon of Bluebell homemade vanilla ice cream for this, which was recommended in the recipe. Not that specific brand, just vanilla ice cream. So I am excited for this pie. And you top the fruit filling with the streusel or the crumble, but you leave the center open so that you can see the fruit in the middle. And so crisis, yeah, we're on track to make a pie that doesn't explode in the oven. I do have some other things that I want to talk about. Actually, I have a lot of things. I do want to first make an apology. I was watching TikTok the other night and falling asleep while doing so, nodding off, and while I was nodding, my thumb was moving, and I accidentally reported 4 TikTok videos in my sleep. It was either that or I reported the same video 4 times, maybe 2 videos 2 times, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure if you can see who reported your video when it is reported. If you saw that it was me, it was an accident. I'm not out here reporting TikTok videos on purpose. Speaking of TikTok, I do want to talk about TikTok history for a minute. I remember when TikTok came out, I was working at Numero Group at the time, and I was trying to convince everybody that we should get on TikTok. It was kind of a music app at the time, but it was also a divorce app. And there was a thing called Divorce Talk. And that's really what got me into TikTok. I think like BuzzFeed or someone else compiled a list of like the best divorce talk videos, which was mostly guys throwing stuff in their house while a Nickelback song played in the background. And, you know, they're mad because they had to like do their own dishes now or whatever. And TikTok was their outlet. I think women did it too, but I think divorce talk was a male-centric trend, and it was fascinating. Anyway, I do want to bring up 90 Day Fiancé for a second. There are two 90 Day Fiancés happening right now. One of which is 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, which is where Americans move abroad for someone they love. And there is this couple. I think they're a new couple in the franchise. They're both career strippers. One is a woman. She's older. I don't know, maybe she's in her early 60s. And she was a stripper forever in Las Vegas. This other guy is a stripper in Australia. A dancer? I don't know what the right word is. Exotic dancer? I'm not sure. But this guy is... So the relationship is older woman. She's moving to Australia for this younger guy. He looks like if it came out that he was AI generated, it would not surprise me. He looks fake. He looks like a fake person. And he looks like a video game character. He looks CGI. He is sculpted in a way that is unnatural. His skin is so tight and tanned. He has like piercing eyes. And then he dresses up like he's cosplaying an Australian. I know he's Australian, but it's a lot. He dresses up like Crocodile Dundee. But the reason why I want to talk about him is food related. He has a really strict diet where he eats micro meals 5 times a day, and there's a certain calorie count per meal that he sticks to, and a breakdown of protein versus vegetable versus carb. Which, you know, and that's one of the struggles in their relationships for sure, because she wants to cook with a fat, like an oil, and he won't have it. The biggest thing, though, that made me write this down and want to talk about it is that he eats kangaroo on a daily basis. And I mean, that's what it seems, which I didn't realize that Australian people eat kangaroo, but then I thought about it a little bit and I was like, okay, that it kind of makes sense. Like, they are in the outback, and kangaroo are the deer of Australia. People eat deer in the US all the time. People eat venison. So kangaroo is the venison of Australia. Then I Googled it and it's like, yeah, people don't really eat kangaroo in Australia. I mean, like, some people do, but not really. So this guy's just eating kangaroo all the time. And I'm thinking maybe it's like a very lean meat and that's why he's doing it. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this other than this guy is a freak, and you should watch the show and check out this couple. They are very interesting. And he definitely has an eating disorder. So I want to switch gears and talk about scent for a second, because scent is taste and taste is food. So this is all related. I've been on the hunt for a winter scent because I talked last week about all the samples that I ordered from Le Labo and Diptyque and whatnot, and not really in love with any of them. And the one I am into is more of like a summer scent to me. I was like, I don't really have anything to wear in the winter. Except I have been wearing, I don't know how to pronounce it, Bae 19, BAIE 19 from Le Labo, which is supposed to smell like nothing. it smells like gasoline to me. But then the other day I was in the office and my wrists smelt like a Home Depot, like fresh cut wood or like wood shavings. And I was like, this smells really good. And this would be a really good winter scent. I think it might be this perfume like a couple hours in. Or maybe I touched some wood shavings or something and didn't realize it. But then I thought, let me look up and see if there is a scent that is like just like Home Depot wood shavings. And there is. It's called Woodcut by Olympic Orchids. And I ordered a sample of it. So I will be testing that out soon. But really what got me on this winter scent hunt is I was in bed the other day. I just woken up and I got a flash of an image of the mall in the mid to late 90s. I'm in the mall. It's Christmas time. I'm in a department store. And there was a really nicely dressed man, you know, nice pressed shirt and slacks. And he's carrying gifts. They're all wrapped. And there was a scent that he gave off. And it was just like this flashback. I don't know if it was real or if it was something I saw as a child in the mall. And so I Googled like perfumes that smell like Christmas in the 90s. And I came across a Reddit thread called Perfumes That Smell Like Christmas in 1995. So what I think is my scent memory per this Reddit thread is the original Old Spice scent, which not the deodorant, like the original cologne or perfume or aftershave that they would sell. I think that's what I was smelling. I think I smelled like an aftershave or men's product whiff coming out from Brian's bathroom cabinet. And, you know, those men's aftershave products are all sort of Christmassy in a way, or like spicy. I think that's what I was smelling, but I was like, I need something more. And also, am I going to wear Old Spice and smell like an elderly man? I don't think so. I guess I could. But I wanted something maybe a little bit more subtle. So this thread recommended a scent by Estee Lauder called Cinnabar. It's from 1978. Unfortunately, they stopped making the original formula. I think that a lot of the original ingredients are unavailable, and maybe, and I don't know why. I think like regulations and you can't manufacture these products anymore, or just like availability. So they did recreate it and re-release it, but people say that it's not the same. I am tempted to like go to some sort of store and smell it, but I could also just order a sample. There are some other recommendations on this Reddit thread. Joe Malone Orange Bitters, which I don't know anything about. Warm Ginger by Mimic. I am not well versed in perfumes, I will say. Bath and Body Works Winter Candy Apple. No. I mean, there are a lot of... I keep seeing Demeter, Christmas in New York. Demeter Gingerbread. Maison Margiela by the Fireplace. Maybe I just need to go to a perfume place. Apparently there was a place like this in Chicago, which I don't know where to go here to like smell a bunch of perfumes besides Sephora. But yeah, people keep saying Estee Lauder Cinnabar, which really appeals to me because I like cinnamon. Chanel Allure smells like roasting turkey incense from Catholic Mass. I don't know if that sounds good. Ineke Jaipur Chai. I've worn it and people have instantly say, you smell like a store at Christmas time. I don't want to smell like potpourri though. There's like a fine line. Yeah. So anyway, that's too much, but that's what I'm thinking about these days. What am I going to smell like for Christmas? Okay. Oh my God, we're already half an hour in and I haven't even gotten through. Anyway, New York Times recipe. So they are really ramping up their like new Thanksgiving pie recipes. I think they released 6 quote unquote new recipes that actually look really good. There's like a cranberry mousse pie. It's 2 different mousses. I think one's like honey or vanilla flavored and it's white, and then there's a cranberry mousse, and you sort of swirl them together. I think they did a good job with their pie releases, I gotta say. I do talk a lot of shit about New York Times recipes because of their lemony garlicky herby descriptor words that they use that are getting tiresome. But they do have, I mean, I still look at their app. It is a good place to, and especially like old Mark Bittman recipes, Story Green, like they have a lot of good, reliable recipes on there. So one recipe that I saw maybe on their Instagram, I don't remember, was a chocolate covered cranberry sauce. Apparently it's 3 ingredients. In order to get the recipe, you had to comment the word cranberry, which I was not about to do. So I don't know how to make it, but I'm assuming it's a cranberry jelly that you set and freeze and then cover in chocolate, which we could all figure out on our own. But it looked good. Let's get into some drama. So last week, the main drama was Meadow Lane. I don't have any updates on that besides seeing more and more TikToks of people repeating the same news that I've already heard. People are continuing to go there. So I was listening to Sexy Unique podcast, and they said that in 5 years that place is going to be dusty and outdated and run down and not on trend anymore. 100% agree. I also think that, the guy who runs it, he could do anything. And as someone who has been a shop girl or has worked in a lot of like on location, on site retail spaces, whether it be food or vintage clothing, whatever, the excitement of opening a shop wears off really quickly. I think I see this a lot with shops where it's like, oh my God, and restaurants too, like, oh my God, we have like hand cut flowers on each table, and everything is just so, and it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years in, it gets dusty real quick. No more fresh flowers. Corners are getting cut. The excitement is gone. The owner's not there anymore. They've moved on. They don't want to be there every day. But within a year, like, he's not going to want to be there every day. The fantasy of owning a little shop is going to wear off real quick. And it's, obviously he's outsourced all the work, but the care is not going to be there. This isn't even the drama I was going to talk about. I want to talk about Ballerina Farm and the scalloped cutting boards. So I don't know if I've talked about Ballerina Farm on here, but I have been interested in that drama for a while. If you don't know who Ballerina Farm is, it's a person named Hannah who's married to the heir of the JetBlue fortune. They're Mormon. They live in Utah. They have a farm. They cosplay, like ranch life. I mean, they're extremely wealthy, and they have a line of like sourdough products. They have like a little grocery store in town now, similar to Meadow Lane. They sell meat and dairy products that they raise on their ranch. Yada. I mean, it's a brand that they're creating, and she does TikTok videos to promote the things that she makes. They do a lot of whey products. They have like a whey lemonade, and I've never interacted with or tasted any of her products or food, so it's just very aesthetic. There's a scalloped cutting board that they released. It's a really big, nice wood cutting board with like a nice scalloped edge. And, they're selling it for like, I don't know, $200 something. People are losing their minds that she would charge so much for a product. And Walmart has dupes now. There are all these cheap dupes that are sold out. I gotta say, if you want a quality cutting board, they are very expensive. And so I don't think that that is an outrageous price for a quality, really thick, nice cutting board that is going to last you 10 to 20 years if you're keeping up with it and waxing it and oiling it. So I don't really get the hype. I think that a lot of people who follow her but maybe aren't as well versed in cooking just don't maybe understand what a quality cutting board costs. But I also haven't touched the cutting board, so I don't even know if it's good quality and if it should be priced as such. So that's my take on that. I am going to jump back and actually make a dig at the New York Times cooking recipes. So I wasn't impressed with their 6 new pie recipes, but then immediately turned off because one of the pie recipes, they shot a video, and whoever was making the video, well, their hands prepping the food, prepping the pie, long ass painted fingernails. As soon as I see long fingernails, especially if they have paint on them, I'm out. And I know that you're not serious. If you've worked in restaurants, you know that that is against health code. You cannot have painted fingernails. It bothers me even that Kenji, I mean, I know he's just cooking for himself and that his daughter is painting his fingernails, which, you know, whatever. I don't care if you have painted fingernails, but if you're cooking food for other people with long fingernails, especially, it's just gross. It's very unsanitary. I don't think people think about it, but those long nails trap a lot of bacteria. And I think if you're releasing professional food videos like New York Times, you should not be promoting like long. I just think it's strange. I think it's a strange choice because it's unsanitary at the end of the day. And I'm calling the health department. One thing that I've been talking with people about casually at work or with friends, like, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? Oh, going to like my parents' house, my in-laws' house. I have people coming over, is like the generational struggle to decide when the next generation gets to take over the holiday meal. And I think this has a lot to do with whether or not the oldest generation likes to cook and wants to cook. Because if they do, then it's easy, like they can keep doing it. But if they don't like to cook and do it because they think they have to and end up producing really terrible food, I think at some point you need to let someone who's really happy to cook take over. I wouldn't say that my grandmother was a bad cook, but I did growing up watch my uncle, who is a pastry chef, has a bakery in Rhode Island. He went to culinary school, became a really good pastry chef, worked in Paris for a long time, and slowly started helping my grandmother in the kitchen with the big holiday meals. And then it seems he eventually took over, and I was young at the time, maybe too young to fully interpret what was actually going on, but it didn't seem like there was a struggle. And he eventually took over all the cooking duties. And I think that's a hard thing to make happen sometimes. I also think there's a big generational divide in eating and cooking with canned and processed foods versus people of a younger generation who are used to having more access to fresh foods, or, you know, they might even enjoy canning and appreciate the history of canning and why people can. But when you do have the resources to purchase seasonal and fresh food to cook with for the holiday seasons, why not do that instead of buying, canned potatoes. My own immediate family, when I go home for Christmas, I am the one doing all the cooking, so there has not really been a struggle, mostly because my mother is sick and can no longer cook. So I just stepped in and I cook everything now. So it's pretty easy. I think my dad is more than happy to let me take that role on. But I think when we do Thanksgiving with Brian's family, it's more of a struggle where Brian would also like to take that role on, but there's a generation above him that would rather, well, I don't know if it's, I think they feel the obligation to do it. And I don't always think that they want to necessarily, or like they don't enjoy cooking. So the final product, I think you really have to love cooking to make a good product, because if there's any hesitancy or resentment or not wanting to do it fully, I think you can taste it. And Brian has taken over turkey duty. I'm doing rolls these days, and I try and make a dessert. The sides, however, are still with another generation, which, appreciate the work that goes into it, but the sides are the best part, and I would love if we could use fresh ingredients for those. Okay, not trying to be negative, but that is a topic that is coming up with holiday cooking and the struggle of who is going to actually be doing it. And I mean, something else that comes up is food safety. I remember once going to the home of someone who doesn't like to cook and sort of feels like they have to. And they prepared a salad with full-blown thyme stems in the salad, which you can't chew. I mean, it's a choking hazard. Just things like that where, if you're not cooking a lot, if you don't like doing it, and then you're forced to do it on a holiday, you don't have the practice or the know-how to actually always prepare safe foods for a crowd. And no one's going to die, but raw stems of woody thyme in a raw salad are actually insane. Back to TikTok. Actually, Instagram. I have been going on Instagram more lately, which is a turn for me. But I did see a post from Shane Confectionery in Pennsylvania. They make iced gingerbread, which I talked about last week, from Flowering Bakery, I think, or Flowering, a girl named Mary on TikTok. Shane Confectionery makes gingerbread cookies, soft gingerbread cookies, in the same way. They are made in they are hand pressed and molded in 18th and 19th century German cookie boards, and then they are iced to all hell, and they look gorgeous. I don't think these are filled with jelly in the same way that the gingerbread cookies were last week that I was talking about, but they look beautiful, and the packaging. So you can order them, I think. Shane Confectionery gingerbread. I'm just like doing free advertising for them at this point, but they look incredible, and I wish I had found out sooner so I could have ordered them for Thanksgiving. Okay. I am going to shout out another TikTok account in shame. They're called At Home with Jenny and Nick. I don't know if this was rage bait or what it was, but they boiled a brie in water seasoned with truffle oil and garlic salt, removed the brie, a whole wheel of brie, removed it from the boiling water and put it in a nonstick pan and fried it on either side, and then they stuck it on a cheese board surrounded by Ritz crackers. The cheese was oozing out the sides. The caption of the video was, "Someone in Wisconsin told us to do this. This is how they serve brie in Wisconsin." Every single comment on the video was someone from Wisconsin saying, "We don't do that." Yeah, I tried to Google this. I can't find anything about this. Absolutely insane. This is not food related, but kind of because it's eating disorder adjacent. Sorry, trigger word. But Brian is very amused or bewildered by the Wicked press tour. I mean, I can't believe it's still going on. I didn't realize there was a second movie. I just thought they were still promoting the first one. And Brian's really concerned about Ariana Grande and I don't remember Cynthia. Is that her name? Brian says, I feel like there's something wrong. The Wicked press tour. And it does seem that way. So good luck to them. And do I even have time to talk about what I ate? I'm just going to do it. Okay. November 16th. Wait, hold on. November 17th, 2025. It was a Monday. 7 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half, made at home, and a bowl of bran flakes with milk. 10 a.m. coffee with half and half from Meantime in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. 11 a.m. leftover curry and rice and a big chewy nerd at the office. 2:30 p.m. a strawberry grain bar at the office. 6 p.m. roasted German butterball potatoes with knockwurst, herbed goat cheese, and arugula, cabbage, and mustard microgreens made at home. 7 p.m. a cup of Earl Grey tea with half and half made at home and Sour Patch Kids. Okay. My boss took me to coffee at a place called Meantime Cafe. I don't know the actual name of it, but it's a student-run coffee shop at UNC Chapel Hill in a building, in some sort of administrative building, just like in the lobby of the building, surrounded by offices. It's very strange. They do a good job. I got a drip coffee. My boss got 2 lattes, one for her, one for someone back at the office. So we walked back to the office. It's like a 10-15 minute walk. And she was sipping from both lattes the whole walk back. I don't know if she realized that. I tried some new candy at the office. There are always bowls of candy, one of the perks of being in an office, one of which was, well, this is the only candy I tried, sorry. Big Chewy Nerd is what it's called. Awful. It tastes like a Jawbreaker. It came in a little mini like Halloween type pack for children. And I don't know, there are probably like 8 of them in there. I tried a couple different flavors. I spit all of them out. They're awful. They're not even sour. Like the reason why you want a nerd is that it's sharp and sour. These didn't even have a flavor. They tasted like sugar in the garbage. I got some knockwurst and that was great. Brian says just because you buy a more expensive version of a hot dog doesn't mean that you're not eating a hot dog, which is true. Brian came home with a giant bag of Sour Patch Kids because the previous night I told him, you smell like Sour Patch Kids. You smell good. Came home with a bag of Sour Patch Kids, like a movie theater size bag. I don't really buy Sour Patch Kids, especially in the single serving bag, because first of all, I think they're smaller and they're not as good of a quality as what I'm used to growing up. So growing up, every time I go to the mall with my mom, she would stop at this local chocolate store called Munson's. If you are from Connecticut, you probably know Munson's. It's a family-run chocolate shop. And they had bulk sour stuff, and you could get my mom would always get a 1/4 pound of Sour Patch Kids for each for me and my sister Anna. And they would give it to you in this white paper bag. And they were so big and fat and fresh. And once I grew up and didn't have access to that, I would try and buy the packages of Sour Patch Kids, and they never tasted the same. So I've just sort of given up on Sour Patch Kids. So when Brian brought home a bag of Sour Patch Kids, I was like, okay. But these were as delicious and fresh and fat as the ones I remember. Ate the whole bag in one night. It was incredible. And as I was watching TV with my Sour Patch Kids sugar teeth. I made a cup of Earl Grey tea to sort of try and dissolve some of that sugar out of my mouth. I mean, I am scared now that I know that they're good because I'm going to want to buy them now all the time. They're so good. And they have blue now. The blue color is normal now. I remember being on an airplane when I was little, maybe like 4 or 5, and my mom got us each a bag of the Munson's Sour Patch Kids, and there was a flight attendant who told me that he loved the orange Sour Patch Kids. So every time he walked by our row, I gave him an orange Sour Patch Kid. And I think he's right. The orange ones are really good. The red ones aren't as red as they used to be. Those were always my favorite, I think. But the green ones are good too. And I usually don't like a green, mostly because I don't like sour apple flavor. But I don't know what flavor the green is for Sour Patch Kids. Maybe lime. If it's lime, that's why I like it. It's really good. Okay. November 18th, 2025. It was a Tuesday. 7 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 9:30 a.m. Jalapeno Havarti cheese and Back to Nature mini garlic and herb crackers. 2:30 p.m. Leftover Thai red curry over rice. 3:30 p.m. A handful of Sour Patch Kids. 6 p.m. Chicken soup with carrots, cabbage, golden pinto potatoes, onion, lemon, black pepper, leftover rice, and crispy fried garlic made at home. 7:30 p.m. Bucky's beaver nuggets. Okay, I do need to talk about these Back to Nature mini garlic and herb crackers. I love when the Back to Nature brand is on sale at Whole Foods. Should have bought more. I bought these to eat with cheese, but they are so small you can't eat them with anything. They are the size of a penny. They're tiny. They're like the size of a mini Ritz Bits cracker sandwich. So I really just ate crackers next to cheese, not really cheese with crackers. But they are dusted to all hell with this flavor dust. It's mildly garlic. It's not an intense garlic, but it's a really good flavor dusting, and I really appreciate the amount that's on there. So I would highly recommend those. I previously ate the garlic bread from Whole Foods that was underwhelmingly garlicky. These garlic crackers were more garlicky than that garlic bread. They were good. And yeah, I did lie. I did have a leftover handful of Sour Patch Kids that I ate the next day. And I made chicken soup. And it was piled high with chicken because I cooked a whole chicken in broth and vegetables and pulled it a little bit and I made stock that day, all day long until nighttime for this soup. So it was a really good soup. A lot of chicken. I put the whole chicken in the soup, which I'll usually reserve some for chicken salad or something else, but it all went in there. So it was like a bowl of soup piled high with chicken, and then I covered that chicken with a ton of black pepper, crispy fried garlic, from the Asian grocery store, and I put 2 whole lemons in this soup. I at first was like, I'll make like a Greek lemony soup, but with the egg. But I think this ended up tasting more like the Uncle Mike's congee. That's like just super straightforward chicken flavor, but with lemon and the crispy fried garlic. That's what I was going for. And when I served this to Brian, he was like, "Oh, you're copying this food guy." I always forget his name, Chris something. He and his partner, girlfriend, I don't know, have like a food blog. He cooks a lot at home, but I guess he's a chef, and I guess he just posted this like chicken soup recipe with crispy fried garlic and lemon. And I was like, well, that's a funny coincidence. But that's not what I'm copying. I'm copying something else. I'm copying Uncle Mike's congee recipe, but making a soup version of that. Brian went to a conference in South Carolina, and on the way back, he called me and said, "Do you want anything from Buc-ee's?" I've never been to a Buc-ee's, but I've always been super curious. And I quickly went on Reddit, and people were recommending the beaver nuggets. I said, get beaver nuggets. He brought home 2 bags of the normally flavored. I guess they have like a white cheddar version or different flavors, but he just got the regular. And at first I was like, ew, and so was he. He's like, yeah, I don't like them. You can have them. But they are strangely addicting. They are addicting and nice in the same way that the Saltbox Honey Hush Puppies are nice, like super crunchy and it's soft on the outside, but also not only sweet, but salty. I think that they taste exactly like corn pops, but with the flavor of French Toast Crunch, which is still a cereal. Shockingly, I thought that was long gone and just from childhood, but no, they're still selling French Toast Crunch. So we ate a whole bag of the beaver nuggets. I'm saving the second bag for when my sisters come. Okay, November 19th, 2025. It was a Wednesday, 7 a.m. Leftover coffee with half and half and a bowl of bran flakes with milk. Wait, just one thought. I had to pick up my sisters from the airport at night. And I thought, what if I brought the bag of beaver nuggets in the car? I remember once we're going to our friend Casey's family's house for a Christmas party. And her mom picked us up from the airport late at night. Me, Anna, and Casey with a bottle of champagne, and we drank a bottle of champagne in the back of the car on the way home from the airport. And I was like, I don't know if I want to have an open container in my car while I'm driving, but we won't get arrested for having an open container of beaver nuggets. Okay, November 19th, 2025. It was a Wednesday, 7 a.m. Leftover coffee with half and half and a bowl of bran flakes with milk. 8:30 a.m. Cup of coffee with half and half at the office. It was Bustelo brand. Is that how you say it? Like the espresso brand. 10:30 a.m. Leftover red Thai curry with rice and a drip coffee with half and half from Meantime in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. 3 p.m. A strawberry grain bar at the office. 6 p.m. Leftover soup with black pepper, Brightland olive oil, and crispy fried garlic. 7:30 p.m. Bluebell, cookies and cream ice cream, and a handful of beaver nuggets. Went back to that coffee shop. Eating lunch at the office at 10:30 in the morning. It's so hard. I like having somewhere to be and go a couple times a week. I like that. But once I actually get to the office and I'm stuck in a dark room and I'm starving and I am eating lunch at 10:30 in the morning, and then I'm starving the rest of the day and have to eat a sugary Nutri-Grain, Whole Foods version of a Nutri-Grain bar at 3 p.m. so that I don't pass out while I drive home. I hate it. I really enjoy being at home. I also find like it's 10 a.m. now. I'm at home. I haven't eaten yet today and I'm fine. There's something about getting up and going to the office that makes me so hungry I am going to die, and I don't have access to food. Maybe it's not having access to food that is what makes me feel like I'm going to die. November 20th, 2025. It was a Thursday. 7 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 9 a.m. Leftover potatoes and knockwurst fried in olive oil and cottage cheese with sriracha and black pepper made at home. 12 p.m. Jalapeno Havarti and Back to Nature garlic and herb mini crackers. 3 p.m. La Majun from Sassoul in Raleigh, North Carolina. 7:30 p.m. Beaver nuggets. So Brian was off work today, and this was the day he was like, let's go to Whole Foods today and do all our, Thanksgiving shopping. I had these leftover roasted potatoes. I use all the, I finished all the golden pinto potatoes. I had to eat them first. We grew them all at the same time, but they have less of a storage life. So we are done with the golden pinto potatoes. Sadly, they were beautiful. They were lovely. I'm going to miss them. We have moved on to, I think we have green mountain potatoes and German butterball. They look the same, so it's hard to tell when I'm cooking, but one has more of a yellow interior than the other. But it's like you only really notice the difference if they're side by side, so I don't know like what I'm cooking. I'm going to assume they're German butterball for the sake of writing something down. Hold on, I'm going to sip coffee. Okay. I have a note. Oh, so I cut the mini potato. Oh, so you got to use all the small potatoes first because those go bad first. So I pulled all the really small potatoes out and roasted those the other night, not thinking to poke holes in them because when you bake up a whole potato, they explode. And I panicked, was too scared to open the oven. I was like, these are going to all pop in my face. But I pulled them out and poked holes in them and everything's okay. But I have these mini roasted potatoes. I cut them in half and then fried them cut side down in olive oil until they were golden brown. Cut the knockwurst in half too and fried that cut side down. And then I flavored some cottage cheese for the side. It did feel like a retirement home cafeteria breakfast. Hot dogs and cottage cheese. This jalapeno Havarti that I'm getting on sale on manager clearance special at the Food Lion is delicious. And I realized the reason why I love Havarti so much is because it is the same texture as Baby Bell. Had that revelation the other day. I also saw a TikTok video. Like a lot of the spicy stuff at Food Lion will often go on sale. And I'm like, oh, it's because, all the elderly people in my community cannot handle it. But I saw a funny video that's like white people's spicy culture is just either extremes. You have like white people who cannot handle any sort of heat, including black pepper. But then American spicy culture is also like Carolina Reaper, hot ones, like a hot sauce eating contest, like people dying from eating spicy food. It's like there's nothing in the middle, but we've got both extremes covered. I thought that was an astute observation. So went to Sassoul for lunch/dinner. And I'm always getting the chicken shawarma, and I thought, let me try something different. And they call them pizzettes, but in small lettering beside it, it's the meat flavored pizzette is Lamajun. It was disappointing. The meat was so wet that it tasted like I was eating raw hamburger meat. I know that it's supposed to be wet because it has like tomatoes and peppers in it, but it was a little bit off-putting. It was also incredibly oily, the meat itself, but extremely undersalted. So just eating like oily, wet meat, it definitely needed salt. Brian got a beef shawarma platter, beef and lamb shawarma that was like a huge pile of beef and lamb, side of tabbouleh, side of baba, and then a pile of freshly baked pita and tahini sauce that he was making his own sandwiches. He probably ate 4 of them. They looked incredible. I had a lot of envy. The base of the pizza itself, homemade pita baked in a high fire oven, really good. It was just the meat topping itself, and it didn't come with any vegetables on top or anything. It was just straight up meat. I did borrow a little bit of Brian's tabbouleh to go on top, which helped. Anyway, Sassoul, it's right by the Whole Foods. That's why we went there, and I do love it because we were doing our shopping. But they also have a mini grocery store, and I noticed they had a really good price on bay leaves. So I decided to do some shopping there. They have really nice, a ton of imported cheeses from across like the Middle East and like Eastern Europe. They're expensive, a lot of like sheep cheeses. I didn't get any this time. I thought about getting some. They have like a lot of weird Italian desserts imported. I just stuck to the spices though because I knew I could go crazy really quickly. So I did get bay leaves. It was like 50 cents for a big thing of bay leaves. I was going to also they had sour dried cherries. I was going to make my own granola for my sisters from the 11 Madison Park recipe, which is delicious. If you're looking for a granola recipe, look no further. 11 Madison Park has an excellent recipe. What makes it so good is that it uses a whole tablespoon of salt. You need to be careful though, and that tablespoon measurement is based off of, I think, Diamond Crystal Kosher. If you're using Morton, you need to adjust. So it's the best granola recipe in my opinion. I'm not actually going to make it because to make the granola itself was going to be like $10 in sour cherries and like another $12 in nuts. And I was like, let me just buy granola for $3 that is organic and at Whole Foods and on sale. So that's what I ended up doing, unfortunately. I do have a huge bag of Bob's Red Mill oats to use up, but I did use up some of it in the crumble for the cranberry pie that I made. Okay, so I do want to shout out the other spices that I got at Sasul. They had Aleppo pepper, which I've never actually found like good Aleppo pepper to buy, so that looked good. I got some of that. And then they had a couple of chicken and beef shawarma spice mixes. And I love the mixes that they use, so I definitely I made sure to get that. Especially because my current curry powder mix, I think I'm allergic to fenugreek, so I can't use that anymore. So the beef shawarma mix, the first ingredient listed was allspice, which surprised me. I don't know if it was an alphabetical listing or if they're actually going by like, largest amount first. But that was interesting to me. So it's a heavily spiced beef shawarma. The chicken shawarma mix, on the other hand, was garlic powder first. So it's more of like and I think that's why I like their chicken shawarma so much. It's super garlic powdery. So I'm excited to cook with those. I don't think I'm going to make shawarma necessarily, but I do think they would be good in a curry application or even a stir fry application. Okay. November 21st, 2025. It was a Friday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home and a leftover slice of lamajun. 10 a.m. Leftover roasted potatoes and half of a knockwurst with sriracha. 12 p.m. A hunk of jalapeno havarti. 3 p.m. A handful of beaver nuggets. 6 p.m. Leftover soup and romaine lettuce with creamy Caesar dressing made at home. 7 p.m. Bluebell cookies and cream ice cream. It sounds like I ate a lot that day, but I was starving for the entire day. I will also make a note that my food log, we're in November. We're in late November and it's already at 98 pages. Usually this is where I just make it to 100 pages and the year's over. So I don't know if I'm eating more or giving more detail or what, but I'm already like at where I usually am by the end of the year. So I don't know if that's impressive or not. November 22nd, 2025, it was a Saturday. 7:30 a.m., counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 8:30 a.m., a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit and potato rounds at Bojangles in Oxford, North Carolina. 1 p.m., buttered popcorn with chili lime seasoning made at home. 5 p.m., baked fusillotti with sweet Italian sausage, red sauce, and garlic ricotta made at home. 7 p.m., Bluebell cookies and cream ice cream. Hold on, it sounds like my cat is choking. Okay, they're fine. I don't know what I heard. So I haven't been to Bojangles in a while, but I did go and sit down at a Bojangles. Brian and I realized we needed to get peanut oil for frying the turkey and the arancini that we're going to make for Thanksgiving. So we went to Walmart. And there is a Bojangles next to it, so we went and ate there. If you haven't been to a Bojangles, it is the kind of fast food place where it's very clean inside and they bust your food for you. It's a little interesting. I got a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. It was absolutely delicious. I'm a little hot and cold on Bojangles. I've had really good Bojangles. I've also had okay Bojangles. something I didn't realize is that there are different strains of Bojangles. So I'm usually eating from the RDU strain. So it's a franchise series that covers Southern Virginia and the Triangle area. And then if you're in other parts of Carolina or like Tennessee, it's like owned by a different company. And the manager, I don't know, Brian says that the guy who runs this Bojangles has been there for years and he does a really great job. I didn't realize that the bow rounds are called Bo-tato rounds until I looked it up. They are delicious. They're like mini circles of the McDonald's hash brown. I think the McDonald's hash brown is king, but this is a good alternative. Unfortunately, Bojangles has Pepsi instead of Coke. We got 2 Coke Zeros. We got 2 Pepsi Zeros. The thing about Pepsi for me is Diet Pepsi, especially from a fountain, tastes like they didn't flush the lines of the soda machine and you're partially drinking sanitizer residue. I never get Pepsi, but I've started to because at Taco Bell, that's the only option. And someone did make a TikTok video that I saw last night that said Taco Bell would be the number 1 fast food chain if they had Coke products. And I 100% agree. So when I go to Taco Bell, I am getting a combo, so I have to get a drink. I'm not going to walk away without one. So I'll get the Diet Pepsi or whatever they have. Yeah, they have Diet Pepsi. And the first time I got it, I thought, oh my God, there's bleach in this, there's sanitizer, there's some sort of like cleaning product in this, and I'm going to die. So I had a few sips and I'm like, well, I'm going to drive home and see if I die. I didn't die. I felt okay. So I drank the rest of the Diet Pepsi. Nothing happened. So I thought, okay, either I can survive anything or this is just what Diet Pepsi tastes like. I have since had Diet Pepsi from multiple other establishments, and I can confirm that that's just what it tastes like. So if that's the taste that you're after, you should check out Pepsi from a fountain. It tastes like chemicals. And I do want to shout out Trader Joe's chili lime seasoning, which I used on the buttered popcorn that I made that day. It's amazing on a really rich fatty food like a buttered popcorn or a fried potato. November 23rd, 2025, it was a Sunday. 8 a.m. Leftover coffee with half and half made at home. 10:30 a.m. A mozzarella and pea arancino made at home. 2 p.m. Fried soft pretzels with beer cheese, cheese curds, with a sweet chili sauce and half of a sweet potato ale at Bugs Island Brewing Company in Clarksville, Virginia. 7 p.m. Blue Bell cookie two-step ice cream. So I prepped arancini in the morning. I had to go to an estate sale and get there by noon. It was a little bit up north towards the Virginia border line. And I thought I'll prep arancini and I'll freeze them for Thanksgiving when we'll fry them off. So actually Saturday I prepped the risotto so that it would be ready for Sunday to shape the arancini. Prep the risotto and then I formed them on Sunday. And I used an old food and wine recipe from the year 2000. It was updated in 2019. Let's see, I have the file right here. It's by Grace Parisi. It yields 18 arancini. Arancini with peas and mozzarella, it's called, which was right up my alley. I was looking for a pea and mozzarella. I wanted to keep it simple. And the summary is, my Calabrian grandmother always used plain white rice to make her incredible arancini, but I prefer to cook with plump arborio because I think it makes the insides creamier. So true. I don't remember what. I bought a bunch of arborio rice from an Italian grocery store in Raleigh last year, and I'm using it now. Um, it was vacuum sealed, but I'm like, I need to use this because it's kind of hard. I did use the Carnaroli arborio, and I wonder if there's a description. Often called the king of risotto, this rice is a medium grain rice with a higher starch content than arborio and can hold its shape better when cooked. I'm going to agree with that. So here's the recipe: 5 cups of chicken stock, 2 tablespoons butter, minced shallot, 1.5 cups arborio rice, half cup parm, grated salt and pepper, 2 tablespoons finely chopped parsley, 4 eggs, half a cup flour, 1 cup dry breadcrumbs, 1.5 ounces of mozzarella, 18 fresh or frozen peas, vegetable oil. So that's 1 pea per arancino. That's the singular version of arancini. I know that because when I lived in Italy with a family, they were cat sitting a cat named Arancino, which means big orange. So arancini means big oranges, which makes sense because they look like oranges. So I modified this a little bit. I used 2 cups of rice. So I used probably 6 or 7 cups of chicken stock that I had a quart of chicken stock. I had some water and some chicken bouillon to it, and a little bit of garlic powder. And I added a ton of parsley. I chopped up a ton of parsley. So let's just get into it. I cooked a whole onion in butter and olive oil, and then I toasted the arborio for a good 8 minutes, I would say. And then I slowly added the stock. This recipe says that you only need to cook it for 25 minutes, but I needed to cook it for 45 to 50 minutes until it was al dente. Probably because my rice is older. I was also cooking it on a very low heat, like a medium low heat. So I cooked it until it was al dente. I let it rest for 10 minutes, and then I beat an egg and stirred an egg in, and then I probably used almost a whole head of, it's not a head, I used a ton of parsley, and I chopped it finely, and I thought it looked really nice speckled throughout the whole lot. And then I let it rest in the fridge overnight. The next day I made arancini. This is my second time making arancini, and I find it incredibly frustrating. I find the breading process itself frustrating because you want the risotto to be wet enough so that when you fry it, it's still creamy inside. But it's really hard to shape something that's sort of wet. For me, it loses its shape. I have a hard time making a pristine ball shape. So what I did was I formed the arancini, put the mozzarella in, and I put a few peas in each instead of just one. And I did cook the peas in water just for a few minutes, and so they were cooked and not completely frozen. And then I rolled them in flour. I put them on a baking sheet, and then I put them in the freezer so that they would get a little bit hard. So I did try to form the arancini as is. Too soft in my opinion, especially when you're rolling it in the flour, then trying to roll it around the egg, and it sort of loses its round shape. Stuck it in the freezer. That helped, but I think it's still difficult. And then when you put it on the sheet tray, it gets a flat bottom. So I find them extremely difficult. I think if I were to make it again, I would roll them. I would just, form them, stick them on a sheet tray, like wax paper, like parchment, freeze them, and then until they're really, not frozen all the way through, but frozen enough that they're not going to deform when you roll them around in the egg mixture. which for me was where they really lost their shape. I think it does require some freezing if you want to keep that. That's my thought. I don't know. I don't know how other people are doing this. I've watched like every YouTube video available on YouTube on arancini, and I think if you actually want to retain the shape, it's going from hand to fryer, so they don't have a chance to be misshapen. But in my case, they're going from hand to freezer. So I did make them, and the more of them I made, the nicer they looked. It also helped when I made them smaller, and I put them on a sheet tray on parchment and froze them, as you would do if you're making like bulk dumplings. Freeze them on a sheet tray so that they all freeze, but they're not sticking together. And then once they were frozen, I took them off the sheet tray and transferred them to like a square Cambro, and they're in a Cambro in my deep freezer now, in my chest freezer. So day of Thanksgiving, I'll take them out a couple hours before, or an hour, and I'll fry them off. When I fried them, because they were like partially frozen, they browned too quickly. I mean, my oil is probably at 375. I did turn it down for the second one, but they did brown too quickly for the cheese to melt properly. They were delicious. I mean, they didn't even need cheese. The risotto was so perfect and creamy, and I mean, it was just, you didn't even need the cheese inside. It was really great. But I think what I'll do on Thanksgiving Day is fry them, and pull them out of the fryer and put them on a metal rack over a sheet tray, and then stick them in a low oven just to keep them warm, but also so that cheese, you make sure that cheese melts on the inside. And I did use a low moisture, high fat mozzarella for that. But yeah, I would highly recommend this recipe. I mean, I did alter it a little bit, but absolutely incredible. I did up the parm because I did up the rice. I upped the ratios a little bit because I did like a quarter more than the recipe called for. But yeah, it was great. And I used I used like the 4x4, 4-cup, whatever brand it's called, Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. But yeah, Brian said they were perfect. I'm excited about it. I just need to nail the actual melting of the cheese in the middle. Okay, so went to an estate sale. I had to pick up some items. I mean, it was just like an incredible estate sale. That was an online auction only. And it was like an old cabinet maker that lived up like 30 minutes north of me, and got like an old mixing bowl and an old mirror and a big pine frame and another glass bowl. I mean, I could have dropped money on all the things I wanted there, but I just didn't want to get in a bidding war with anybody. So everything that I bought, I only did minimum bids on everything, and whatever the 3 items that I brought home, it's just that nobody else happened to bid on them, so I got them all for the minimum bid, which was great. We were already up north, so Brian said, let's drive a little more north up towards the lake and go to this brewery, because he really wanted a burger. So we went to this brewery. It's kind of in like a retirement lake town. There's like a mini main street with a lot of shops. Every shop is Christmas themed for some reason. I mean, I know it's almost Christmas, but it seemed unsustainable. There were like horse-drawn carriages. There's also like some sort of medical emergency happening that was blocking off the entire main street. Anyway, we went to this brewery, and the bartenders were out of their minds, lit. Santa was there. I mean, when you live in a small town, you don't have a mall, I guess Santa comes to the bar. And so there was a line of children at the bar to meet Santa. We did eat outside overlooking the lake. It's a man-made lake. You can tell it's it's huge, but it's like made by the Army Corps. I don't know. Brian Brian's like, wow, isn't it beautiful? And I'm like, I guess. Like, when you're used to looking at Lake Michigan or these like Great Lakes that are basically oceans, a man-made lake looks really dumb. But we did get some decent food. I mean, it was bar food. I've been wanting a soft pretzel forever, so I got that. They were deep fried soft pretzel sticks, which was interesting. They're okay. I wish they weren't fried. I just wanted like a good salty soft pretzel. Came with a beer cheese made with their own beer, which was good. The cheese curds were fine. I think Cookout has a better cheese curd situation. Came with a really sweet chili dipping sauce, which wasn't my favorite. Brian got a burger and fries. The fries look good. They look like Chili's fries, and they came with like a really zippy burger sauce. I got sweet potato ale, which was good. It tasted like sweet potato, but it might have also been the power of suggestion. I had half of it and Brian had the rest of it. He also had a porter that was pretty good. And then we went to we went to a thrift store afterwards in a strip mall behind the main drag, since there was a medical emergency happening. And there was a buffet in the thrift store, which was an extreme surprise. It was a cool thrift store. You know, it wasn't like overpicked like the Salvation Armies are. I ended up getting some really nice Italian glassware, and I got a someone's journal. They only wrote one entry in, but it was like a boat log, and they wrote one entry in it, and I got that for Journal, which, if you don't know, is the periodical project that I have. You can go to journal.net and check it out. But I'm trying to incorporate more archival and found journal material into it, so that's going to go in probably volume 3 or maybe volume 2. Volume 2 is going to be food themed, and this entry is about cooking fish on a boat, so maybe that would actually work perfectly. So anyway, going through this thrift store, and one thing about a thrift store is the smell of a thrift store never makes me want to eat. So I was shocked to find a full buffet table in the middle of it. And there was a kitchen in the back of the thrift store where they were prepping all the food. I took a picture of it. It was shocking. Cheese and cookies. It was very much Christmas themed. The whole town is really into Christmas, if you couldn't tell. Tons of cookies. Mini chocolate chip cookies, these pink cookies with white chocolate chips, mini muffins, Chex Mix, mini peanut butter cookies, chips and dip. All kinds of snack mixes and potato chips and dip, chocolate covered pretzels. And people were loading up plates of food. It was really shocking. There was a framed photo of the Backstreet Boys that I found, and I do regret not purchasing that. But yeah, that was a super interesting trip. Definitely lost my appetite and didn't eat again until I ice cream at 7:00. Okay, I'm way over time, so I got to end this podcast now. But I will be sharing the picture of the thrift store buffet as the cover episode of this episode, and the episode cover. Okay, bye.